You have just watched a man commit a crime. I did something Bill Clinton was unable to do. I actually inhaled. This stuff is marijuana. The real McCoy. I've been smoking marijuana ever since 1967 in an effort to counter the effects of glaucoma, and I know the pot has worked at least 50% of the time because I can still see out of one eye. If you're a senior citizen, you could probably use a little repair work too. Maybe you've got a bad ticker, arthritis, weak bones, the heebie-jeebies. Or maybe you're depressed. Spirits are lower than sea level, you're in a constant blue funk. Well, I'm here to fix all that, and this is my magic potion. I give you the Nova marijuana plant. That's right, marijuana. It's a pharmaceutical wonder, the penicillin of the 21st century. Add years to your life and life to your years with medicine from the Evergreen Pharmacy. Keep an open mind and I'll fill it with the magic smoke of the cannabis sativa bush and make you young again. But first, a word about my qualifications as a marijuana expert. I say a pot expert who hasn't smoked pot is no expert. Bill Clinton never did inhale. Our drug czars are all non-tokers who wouldn't know marijuana from marmalade, and yet they have the gall to lecture others on the perils of pot. I, on the other hand, have been stoned on pot every day since 1967 and know the truth about the stuff. I know more about marijuana than anybody except the Rastafarians. You remember them. They're the ones who made a religion out of pot smoking and saved millions from a life of sobriety. That's them there. I tried to join their group once, but they whiteballed me. Okay, now for a little history. A lot of people think pot smoking is a sin, but they're mostly idiots. The fact is, Adam and Eve were the very first potheads, and it says so right in the Holy Bible. Listen to this. Hold on, I'll just get my Bible. I got a copy right here. Because I know people aren't going to believe what I'm saying, but I'm telling you, it's right here in the Holy Bible. I've got it. Open the book to Genesis, and it says, and I quote, Eve did go forth and picketh weeds, which she did burneth. And Adam did saith, Here goeth a roach clip. And they did cloud their minds with smoke. It's right there in the good book. If your Bible doesn't have this quote, you're probably using an expurgated version, but take my word for it, I have a first edition, and it says it right here. And I say, if God provided marijuana for Adam and Eve, don't you think he wants you to have it too? But when Adam and Eve screwed up, God made their kids so stupid they didn't know pot from shoe polish. And nobody used marijuana again until about 25,000 years ago when it first reappeared in Spain. And how do we know this for sure? Easy. That's when cavemen painted the Altamira cave murals in northern Spain. These famous drawings were done by people with IQs of 20 or so. How could these brutish louts make such fine art without something to stimulate their low-grade brains? Something like marijuana, maybe. Many famous people smoked pot, and we have records to prove it. Moses was stoned when he saw that burning bush. We know he was stoned because nobody sees bushes catch on fire for no reason unless he's on something. In fact, Moses was so stoned he saw God, and seeing God is a classic stoner trip. Every pot smoker I know has seen God 3 or 4 times, so there must be a connection there somewhere. Socrates was stoned when he drank that hemlock. Some claim all the apostles were potheads except Judas, and that figures. That happens because marijuana makes people creative. Look at me. I've been a pothead for 30 years, and I'm making this stuff up out of thin air. Cicero wrote under the influence of marijuana, and so did Thomas Aquinas and Omar Khayyam and Bill Shakespeare and Jonathan Swift and yours truly. In fact, almost all important art was created by pot smokers. You mean this man wasn't on something? Or the guy who did this? Bach smoked pot, and so did Beethoven and Mozart and the Beatles and William F. Buckley Jr. and the Bush Boys and 80 million Americans, and you know what? The only people who aren't smoking marijuana today are senior citizens. That's you, and that's crazy. Most senior citizens have health problems, and marijuana is great medicine. For example, the Chinese used pot to relieve pain 4,000 years ago. Some also think all that pot smoking made them inscrutable, but I don't know about that. Pot smokers sometimes do get that stoned look, like somebody just hit them in the forehead with a shovel. But that's only superficial. On the inside of the average stoner's brain is a seething mass of energy and blinking lights and snapping synapses engaged in thinking really profound thoughts. When the Romans smoked marijuana, it turned them into pacifists, and they lost their empire because pot smokers hate violence. The Arabs smoked marijuana because they had to live in Arabia. You would too. But wait a minute. Isn't marijuana dangerous? What about that commercial with the frying pan? Won't pot fry your brain, destroy your memory, turn you into a lazy bum? Well, no it won't. After 30 plus years of pot smoking, my own brain is in top working order. In fact, every time I smoke a little marijuana, my IQ shoots up 20 points and I get a strong urge to learn algebra. It even works on lower animals, though how animals can be lower than some people I know is beyond me. The other day, my cat ate some marijuana I was growing, and an hour later, I caught her reading the Wall Street Journal. Another miracle. Somebody alert the Pope. More proof that marijuana is the wonder drug of the 21st century. Marijuana is even good for snake bites because the THC in pot neutralizes the venom. The only problem is you have to have fresh THC in your blood when you're bitten, and that means to be fully protected against snakes, you have to be stoned all the time. If you live in a snake-infested area, I suggest to smoke an extra joint or two a day just to be safe. Or do you have trouble sleeping? Do you get up in the night and can't go back to sleep? Smoke some pot at bedtime and you'll sleep the night through and halfway into the next morning. A caveat though, be careful about oversleeping if you have any anxious heirs hanging around. Some of them are mighty quick with a sheet, and you may wake up and find yourself being trundled off to the nearest mortuary just for sleeping in one day. What's more, marijuana is effective against Alzheimer's disease. You don't give it to the patient, though. You smoke it yourself so you won't catch it. Some people believe if you smoke enough pot, you won't get Alzheimer's. But I can't remember if that's true or not. Suppose you're in excellent health. Maybe you're one of those old-timers who runs in marathons and climbs mountains and lives on wheat germ. Can you still use marijuana? Of course you can. Pot's value as a recreational drug is well known. It's especially good for shut-ins since they can take a trip without leaving their room.
Time for your trip, George.
Great, I'm raring to go. Anyone see Marlon Perkins?
All right, let's get more specific. How do you get marijuana? The feds say pot is illegal in every state, including the ones that okayed medical marijuana laws recently. If they catch you with pot, they could send you to the big house for life. That means you have to learn to be devious and cunning. Trust no one. Don't leave roaches or clips in ashtrays in your car or anywhere else. Be creative in hiding your pot. Ladies can hide it in their bras. Nobody's going to reach into an old lady's bra if he can help it. If you've got a job and they make you take a drug test, claim you inhaled secondhand smoke from some ne'er-do-wells who hang out in your condo. Who knows? Worked for that guy in the Olympics. Now for some tips on how to buy marijuana. One reliable source is the Hells Angels. These guys always have pot for sale. Stop any biker you see on the street and place an order.
Hey, buddy, what can I do for you?
Listen, I'm fresh out of marijuana pot. You got any extra pot in your bag there?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, good.
Probably
That's
do,
terrific. Oh, there you go, man. Yeah, here you go. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Did I get a senior citizen's discount?
I don't think so.
Oh, God.
Or, if there's a Hells Angels clubhouse near you, why, just drop in and pick up a quick ounce. Tell them I sent you. It's a good idea to buy marijuana at night, as the guys who sell pot only work nights. And never go alone. You should always travel in packs, as most gangbangers are intimidated by the sight of 7 or 8 senior citizens heading their way with their walkers and canes and seeing eye dogs. The thugs are afraid the old-timers might drop dead on them and they'll be charged with murder or worse. Only take enough cash for the pot. No jewelry, gold watches, credit cards, nothing. You can park close to the building in the handicap spot to expedite your getaway if pursued. Remember to wear rubber-soled shoes in case something goes awry and you have to run fast and jump over things.
You know, I can run like a deer with these babies.
As you can see, getting marijuana isn't easy. If you can't buy pot, you can always grow it under lights in your own home, but it's a tricky business unless you've got a green thumb. And you've got to watch out for the feds. If they catch you growing marijuana, they can seize your house and your seeing eye dog under the drug forfeiture laws. One way to grow pot is to throw some seeds over the fence behind your neighbor's garage. And grow it there, so if the feds find it, they'll seize his house and not yours. If you live in San Diego or on the Florida coast, you may find marijuana washed up on the beach in bales. If you should find a bale or two, call me at once. I'm in the book. I'm fully licensed to store pot and will see that it's distributed to sick old folks across the state. Of course, I'll have to deduct a small amount, say 50%, for expenses, but you may be assured most of the rest of it will go to the needy. Whatever you do, don't turn it into the cops. They'll pose with the swag, and the chief will give you a handshake like the one the bank president gave W.C. Fields in the bank dick after he caught the robber and saved the bank's money. And then the cops will take the pot down to the police station and smoke it themselves. Okay, once you have your marijuana, how do you use the stuff? Now we're into joints and pipes and cookie recipes. The most popular way to use marijuana is smoking it in a joint. A joint is a marijuana cigarette that looks like this. The well-crafted joint is light, portable, clean, small, and aesthetically pleasing. Most joints are hand-rolled in a very simple operation that's 1 part technical skill and 3 parts Zen philosophy. We can start with rolling papers. There are many brands of papers and all of them work just fine. Papers can be any color, and you should choose appropriate paper for each event. For example, use black paper for funerals and formal outings, white paper for weddings, American flag papers for the 4th of July, and candy stripe papers for Christmas, and so on. Some papers have glued edges and some don't. I always get the glued ones as it makes for a more secure joint, and there are few things worse than an insecure joint. What's more, I always roll a 2-paper joint because single paper joints are fragile and tend to break easily. But first, an old trick I learned from the monks when I spent 10 years in a Zen monastery on Mount Fujiyama. Always take a toke before rolling a joint, as it elevates your consciousness to a proper Zen-like state and provides a spiritual quality in the finished product, like so. There, that ensures a perfect joint every time because all joints look good to the stoned eye. All right, take 2 papers like this, lick one edge of the glued edge of one, like so, and stick it to the unglued edge of the other paper. Then you make a 1/2 inch fold on the unglued edge of the paper in order to make a crease to hold the pot. Then you simply reach into your stash Put some marijuana, fresh marijuana, into that joint paper, and then roll it a la John Wayne in this fashion. Now, lick the glued edge again and stick it to the joint, and presto, you have a first-class joint that will draw the envy of everyone who doesn't have one. But what if you've got a touch of arthritis or the heebie-jeebies and you can't roll a joint? No problem. Get yourself a rolling machine that'll do the job for you. Of course, there's nothing very aesthetic about a machine-rolled joint. Thing looks like a Marlboro, for God's sake. You don't want to look like you're smoking tobacco. What would people think? So learn how to roll a proper joint by hand. Or if rolling joints is too much trouble for you, get yourself a pipe. Most pipes are small. Each has a tiny screen that keeps you from inhaling hot ashes along with those healthful bursts of pot smoke. Anybody can use a pipe, even those with advanced arthritis or Parkinson's or the well-known heebie-jeebies. You just stuff some pot in a bowl, light her up, and inhale. Pipes are convenient and also portable. Downside is they get goopy and need cleaning, and they stink too. But isn't smoking a bad idea? Yes, if you're a 2-pack-a-day man. But pot smokers usually only smoke a couple of joints or pipefuls a day, and that's not much smoking. Still, if you're worried about it, get yourself a bong. This is a bong. It's also called a hookah or a water pipe, and it filters the smoke through water to remove any impurities. Actually, I never knew there were any impurities in marijuana, but if there are, this gadget will remove them. It works like this. You put some water down here and fill the base of the thing with water. The pot goes in here, and when you inhale through this in this fashion, the smoke goes down through the water and up and comes out cool and safe. You can even get party bongs and provide your friends with life-giving THC in bunches. Don't we live in remarkable times, though? What if you hate smoking? Then don't smoke. You can get a vapor gadget like this and ingest mere vapors instead of smoke and still get higher than a class of 3rd graders on Ritalin. The pot goes in here and this little thing right on top. You put the globe over it like this. You plug it into the wall. The globe fills with vapor and you inhale through this gadget right here, and there you are. That's all there is to it. You can also eat marijuana and get the same results. Just get some pot, grind it up real fine in a mixer, make some cookies or brownies with the pot in them, and bang-o, you'll have pot without the smoking again. You can make hot tea with pot or sprinkle some on your oatmeal and get a new lease on life every time. Studies also show pot smokers laugh and smile a lot, and everybody knows laughter is good for our health. We can see evidence of that when we compare 2 pictures of the same group before and after ingesting marijuana. These people have never used marijuana. They look like they just heard Medicare is going up again. And here we have the same group after smoking 1 marijuana joint each. As you can see, this is a much jollier bunch than the sober-sided non-smokers shown first. We also took some pictures after they smoked 2 joints each, but this is a G-rated show. So, smoke a joint and put a smile on your face. You'll find humor everywhere. You'll even think Jerry Lewis is funny. You'll laugh at fate and bad sitcoms. Your blood pressure will drop, your spirits will rise, and all because you smoked a little pot and it made you laugh. But that's not all. It happens that sex really is better when mixed with marijuana. It's true, and it's all because of a funny thing marijuana does with time. What happens is, marijuana makes time seem to slow down, sort of like everything's in slow motion. That means what used to take you a minute and a half will seem like 10, and you can see how much better that would make sex, obviously. One thought, though, be sure to give your partner some pot so it will seem like 10 minutes to him, her, too. Marijuana has special powers for all you guys out there. Remember saltpeter? You do if you were in the Army in World War II. The stuff reduces a man's sex drive. They put it in the food so the boys wouldn't get horny and forget they had a war to fight. Well, saltpeter is still around. A lot of retirement homes slip it in the food so all you horny old guys won't pester the ladies and make trouble. The good news is that marijuana is an antidote for saltpeter. If you smoke a little pot every day, you'll be one of the few guys who can still get it up, and your social life will improve dramatically. In fact, You may never have to cook again. The ladies in your condo will ply you with hot casseroles and homemade pies and invite you home to meet the folks. What about exercise? Do you hate sweating and exertion and wasting time that could be better spent resting? Well, you're in luck because exercise is contraindicated for pot smokers since the THC infiltrates the muscles and firms everything up without any physical effort on your part. Smoking one joint is the equivalent of running up 5 miles uphill. 2 joints would get you 2/3 of the way through an Ironman triathlon. Well, I could go on endlessly with the medical aspects of marijuana, but there's no need to. It's plain enough that marijuana is good medicine and patients, especially senior citizens who suffer the most poor health of any group, should have access to this life-giving substance. But that's not the only way marijuana is important. Hemp is the commercial form of marijuana. It's marijuana with low THC. They use hemp for clothing, gunny sacks, insulation, rope, and a lot of other stuff. And here it is. Not the most useful plant on the planet. Not only does it make better cloth than cotton, but if you run out of pot, you can smoke your shirt. Hemp makes good paper too, so we can save our forests by using hemp instead of trees. We'd have to lay off 50,000 lumberjacks, of course, but that's no problem. Just make them hemp farmers. Give each one some land and a license to grow pot, and you'll never hear another peep out of them. And what about old-fashioned manila hemp? How could we settle the West without rope to hang crooks? The first order of business in any new town was to stock up on hemp rope as a sign that they'd arrived. And here you have it. Without a steady supply of hemp, no town could flourish in America or anywhere else, and life as we know it would be impossible. And what about driving? People say driving on pot is dangerous, but the only people who say so are the ones who've never smoked marijuana. The truth is, pot has no effect on driving. Pot smokers rarely have accidents, and when they do, nobody gets hurt because they were only going 25 miles per hour at the time. Pot makes people drive too slowly, that's all. If you see a guy zipping along the freeway at 50 miles per hour, he's either stoned or he's 90 years old. Pot builds confidence in drivers. People who couldn't parallel park a Yugo in a space big enough to accommodate an 18-wheeler can smoke a joint and jackknife that truck into a narrow alley at midnight and do it on the first try. Now for the don'ts. Don't smoke when you're flying airplanes. Don't smoke when you're looking for a new job because they might spring a drug test on you. Don't smoke in front of cops or children. There are no other restrictions. And there you have it, folks. The complete story, the true story of marijuana and how it works. Remember that marijuana is good medicine, it's utterly harmless, and it should be available to sick people everywhere and to senior citizens whether sick or well. Try it. You'll be glad you did.